It was a school day, and rain had been pouring all afternoon. My parents picked me up early. They were supposed to be back that night, but they weren't. Instead, they decided to crash at a friend's place closer to the event. She gave me a list: lock all doors and windows, leave one light on, close all the blinds, typical stuff. At the time, it didn't feel like a big deal. I was actually kind of excited to be home alone. No bedtime, unlimited candy. When I woke up, I felt colder than normal. Not just chilly, it was a real difference. I put my hand against the glass. No cracks, no drafts. Maybe it was just the storm, but my bedroom, it has a big window, and that night it was like someone had turned up the volume on nature's fury. Rain slammed against the glass like it wanted to break in. Every few minutes, thunder cracked and lit up the room. That's why I couldn't fall back asleep, even though I was exhausted. Then came the creaking. I sat up, looked around. Lightning flashed again, illuminating everything, but I saw nothing out of place except one thing. My closet door was slightly open. Someone had opened it. Something was in my room. No scream, no words. Just a gut reaction. Quietly, silently, I got out of bed and walked toward the door. That walk felt like walking across an ocean of ice, 5 years long. I didn't stop until I reached the stairs. I hid under the dining table. Then I started crying. Then footsteps, not normal ones, jumping, pinballing down the stairs. Closer and closer, the dining room door opened, then shut again. They were gone. I stayed hidden under that table for a long time. Part of it was fear, part of it trauma. I wasn't old enough to handle the situation, but smart enough to know how dangerous it was. The rest of the night blurred into memory. When I finally climbed back into bed, I picked up the wrench I'd seen on the floor just in case my parents found it in the morning. Locked the front door, slunked upstairs. Everything went back to normal after that. Or so I thought. I didn't tell them what happened right away. Didn't want them to find out. Looking back, not telling them at the time was a mistake. That night changed me. Sometimes you'll see things in your room, things you never expected, or when the clock is counting backwards. I used to dream about that man. He'd watch me sleep and claw at the glass. Just him there, just watching. After 4 times, I told my parents. It didn't really help. Dad could tell I was still afraid. About a year later, everything was exactly the same, and I couldn't move. Minutes were the scariest thing I've ever experienced. When I finally got control of myself, I forced myself over to the window, confirmed it was locked. But I couldn't fall back asleep that night. I was too scared. The next morning, another couple of months passed, but I wasn't going to be fooled again. Every night before bed, I'd think about the dream, try to brace myself for when it came again, and surprisingly, it worked. Next time, I wasn't even half as scared. I didn't bother checking the window after waking up. By the 3rd time, barely scared at all. But something lingered, not scary, just enough to make me want to bring it up to my parents again. Maybe because I was older now. Maybe because I explained it better this time. As I described him, the cut on his forehead, they shifted. Dad looked over at Mom, like there was some detail he didn't know about. I asked what was going on. They assured me everything was fine. Not wanting to upset them, I didn't press further, but from then on, I started wondering if there was more to it. A few days later, they sat me down and came clean. It wasn't dramatic, just a quiet conversation. There was a man named Brian who used to watch over me when I was really little. They called him Uncle Brian. Not family, he was just a close friend of Dad's from college. He'd been around often when both my parents were working full-time, but something happened, bad enough that they cut all ties. Dad forbade Brian from ever coming near our house again. Specifically me. I asked what caused the fallout. They wouldn't tell me. They just said it had nothing to do with me. Then came the worst part. Brian had a noticeable scar on his forehead from a car accident years before I was born. They didn't say it out loud, but they didn't have to. I figured it out myself. Later that night, after Mom went to bed, Dad lingered in the living room with me longer than usual. He told me his theory. He said my dreams were my brain's way of processing something buried deep. Something from when I was little, before I could even speak full sentences. He mentioned how close I'd been to Brian, how I cried when he left, how I always wanted him to read me to sleep. My dad couldn't think of any other reason. I'd know about the scar on his forehead. I didn't know what to make of that. I had no memory of this Brian person whatsoever. I jumped out of bed and screamed for them. Dad sprinted outside in his bare feet, while Mom held me tight. Eventually, he came back and whispered stuff to Mom. They told me to stay put while they called the police. I listened, stayed in their room. Didn't hear any sirens or voices besides theirs that night. Dad insisted everything was fine, that the police would handle it. The next day, he confessed he'd seen faint footprints under my bedroom window. He said no, because they had moved and Brian didn't know where we lived. He promised me nothing bad would ever happen again. and I never saw that dream again. My parents don't like talking about this incident, and why should they? I still don't have a straight answer from them, but what I can't wrap my head around is the thought, every time I dreamed it, was there really someone outside my window? Was it truly plausible that someone had been stalking me for 4 years? Or just my brain associating him with some creepy memory? I've done research, still don't know how that would be possible. Maybe he made a noise, maybe the wind carried something to me. I still can't say. What I can say is I am 95% sure my parents never called the police that night, and maybe I'll never get any answers. But if I do, I'll send an update. This happened right before school ended 8th grade. Last day of middle school, everyone was running around signing yearbooks, scribbling cheesy messages in each other's books. And then I saw it, a signature under someone I'd never seen before, Samuel Robinson III. The message was short, simple, and honestly unsettling. A few hours later, I was at home hosting a sleepover with my best friends Kevin, David, and Kieran. We ate Doritos, played Call of Duty all night. We were messing around on Dad's rowing machine when we heard a sharp knock at the storm door. Silence, then again. Who the hell would knock like that? Kieran couldn't wait, he shouted. Who is it? I was scared. My friends weren't. They insisted I check it out, so we crept upstairs, careful not to make too much noise. After a pause and no more knocking, a muffled voice answered back. Come around to the back door, high-pitched, cheerful, like a friend trying to join our sleepover. I approached the back door slowly, trying to ignore my pounding heart. Through the glass pane, a shadowy figure stood under dim light. Then his face came into view. My jaw dropped. It was him. I stopped my friends from opening the door, knowing exactly who stood outside. I told them about the incident, and they seemed to take it more seriously. But not enough. Sam stood there watching us, gesturing toward a side window, as if inviting me inside. We didn't realize how serious it was, after all. He was just a kid from school. He said he'd seen me in the yearbook, and that we could have been friends. He claimed he'd followed me since the beginning, and that we might have become close. I stayed calm, but deep down, I knew he wasn't someone I wanted near me. David called him a stalker, words that shattered Sam's calm demeanor. His hatred exploded into rage. He screamed about things only he knew, blaming us all. I slammed the window shut, just barely managing to hold off his fury. He pounded on the glass as though trying to break through. It was only seconds before he'd shatter everything. My parents came rushing down the stairs, demanding answers as they descended into chaos. Sam bolted, leaving us standing there stunned and afraid. I explained everything to my parents, but they didn't seem worried enough. Dad ran outside in his underwear, searching for Sam but finding nothing. My parents dismissed the incident, telling us to rest and handle things in the morning. That's when we learned the disturbing truth. Sam had been expelled weeks before the year ended, and shouldn't have ever been at school on the last day. Apparently, the yearbooks were printed before his expulsion, which explained why his picture was still included. He must have snuck into the school somehow to write that message. And then he disappeared. Nobody could track him down. The whole thing became a big deal, but the school kept it under wraps. To this day, I still don't know how he knew where I lived. That's what freaks me out most. The running theory, he was mentally challenged and troubled and took a strange liking to me, maybe then stalked me for years. My parents were worried for weeks. Living in that same house never felt the same after that. This happened when I was 22. Enough time passed for me to feel safe talking about it. I just graduated college, landed a great job, minimal expenses, living in my childhood home, racking up savings without worrying about rent or food. Pure bliss. When the narrator first laid eyes on Lindsay's house, he was awestruck. He describes it as ultra-modern and more like a covert military safe house than a personal home. They chose to stay together in a child's bedroom with bunk beds, which the narrator finds more exciting than separate rooms. They spent only 3 nights at the house. Enough time for bonding, but not too long, according to the narrator's practical view. As they sat stargazing, a mysterious flickering light appeared, swinging back and forth like a handheld flashlight being waved by someone walking along the beach. They soon recognized the flickering light belonged to a group of teens approaching, not threatening, just casual and relaxed. A teenage boy greeted them warmly, confirming they were just kids, friends hanging out late into the night. Their beers, and the 7 of us continued drinking. It was actually really great time. Personally, I was exhausted, wanted to go to sleep. I decided not to spoil everyone's fun, and called it a night for myself. Told them to go on without me. There were only 3 guys, and I had no intention of hooking up that night. I walked back toward Lindsay's house while they walked along the beach, presumably toward wherever they were staying. Sometime after 3 a.m., I woke up to a FaceTime call from Lindsay, which confused me. She should then home or asleep next to one of the guys. I answered groggy, and her words woke me instantly. No second wasted. I threw on clothes, sprinted down the stairs, asked her why she called me instead of police, and reassured me they already had. She told me to stay on the line as she walked me through it. With her instruction, I opened the driveway gate, found her keys, and sped out of there in a matter of minutes. She described the car, told me what direction it went in. I slammed on the gas, trying to catch up. No cars on the road. After a few minutes, I noticed a car matching her description driving slowly in the distance. Then I hung up, called police, told them where we were. The dispatcher warned me to stay back, not to tip off their investigation into our situation, so I did. After what felt like ages, I spotted flashing cop lights ahead. The car in front didn't bolt. They assumed it was an unrelated stop. I pulled over and watched the whole. Things unfold. Pure chaos. Cops dragged all 3 men from the SUV at gunpoint, cuffed them, herded them into one of their cruisers. Then one officer walked to the trunk and opened it to reveal both Thea and Sabrina Bound bruised badly. All 3 were comfortable with me writing this, but none wanted to do it themselves for good reason. Lindsay is the only one who remembers clearly since she tried to be responsible, given it was her family's house. At some point, the guys suggested they go to sleep. Halfway home, she realized she'd forgotten her purse, so she went back to get it. That's when she saw the guys throwing Thea and Sabrina into the car before driving off. She called police. Then me and that was that. Thea's parents are both lawyers, and they jumped through dozens of hoops to keep this as private as possible and make sure those guys got maximum prison sentences. Turns out the house they were staying in didn't even belong to them. Owned by some random old couple on vacation abroad, plus the slew of other crimes they put them away for a long time. Although I still think no sentence is long enough to compensate for what they did. As much as I hate admitting it, this traumatized me for years. I couldn't do beaches, late nights, or talk to strangers even if harmless, or feel safe in any situation. Not remembering anything is a blessing in disguise. The craziest part, had I not gone home, might not have reached Lindsay's car in time, and had it not been for that, police may never have found their car. This happened just last year. Had I not gone home, might not have reached Lindsay's car in time. And had it not been for that, police may never have found their car. This happened just last year. My buddy Jimmy is pretty involved and well connected within the music scene, specifically dance electronic East Coast, New Jersey, and NYC mostly. Impressive what he and his team done in 2 years. Their company hosts events at high-profile venues, the most known clubs or party spaces in whatever city they're in. Then they outsource talent, usually very well-known DJs, sometimes borderline famous. I'm not too involved. I don't know who they, gotten to perform, but there have been some huge names involved. Jimmy and I go way back 20+ years. Been my best friend since damn near forever. Because of that, he lets me and a bunch of our other hometown friends come to his shows for free and hang out with the talent in the VIP section. Really cool thing. I wish I expressed my gratitude more often. Jimmy was scheduled to host a huge event on the 4th of July, Jersey Shore. Biggest one yet. All our mutual friends were going. He invited me down early with him and I obliged. The 3 of us made the hour-and-a-half drive with another friend, Ryan. We found ourselves at the venue 4 hours before doors opened. Ryan and I didn't have much to do while Jimmy's team set up, so we decided to get a head start on alcohol consumption. Jimmy and his crew got as much free booze as they wanted, and we definitely took advantage of that. By the time the first DJ started, Ryan and I were more than a little buzzed, not even close to drunk enough for it to matter. It was 4th of July, so degenerate activities felt justified. Fast forward hours, we were completely wasted. I don't remember being this drunk since then, not even close. Ryan and I are grown men and can handle our alcohol throwing up, making fools of ourselves. Not the issue. The problem was lower impulse control. It was a night of poor choices, but unforgettable fun, at least from what I can remember. As the party wound down, we needed to decide our next move, where to go and who would be sharing space. Jimmy had arranged a nearby Airbnb with beds. Perfect, right? Or so we thought. It didn't seem like a problem at first, until it became one. Dancing and chatting with 2 girls, Gianna and Marcella, turned out to be a turning point. Tall, in Jersey Shore, that's a major attraction, not just looks or charm, but height. Gianna insisted we get on her level, even though we were already tipsy. Drinks consumed, we headed out. But where would we go next? Marcella suggested going to her beachfront home, and we didn't argue. Talking with Marcella, intelligent, insightful, felt like a break from the chaos. About something other than nightlife or whatever garbage I'm used to talking with girls about for once. Not just girls, drunk people in general. It wasn't the kind of drunk I'm used to. My body felt melting under my weight. Legs felt flimsy, almost like cardboard. Moving limbs, mouth, even eyes became harder and harder. There was a moment where extremities started feeling numb. Then, just as quickly as it came, it passed. We arrived at the beach house. Insane. I'm probably exaggerating because I was so drunk, but it looked like what I imagined a professional athlete's beach house would look like. The opulence, foreign to anything I'm used to. Decorative yet minimalistic. Wish I had wherewithal to take a picture, but again my mind was elsewhere. Ryan and I went off to explore, leaving me alone with Gianna. She leaned in to kiss me. That's the last thing I remember before blacking out. Not the kiss itself, but leaning in to kiss me. That's where everything cuts off. I don't remember feeling woozy again or drinking more or doing anything else. But there's a huge gap in my memory spanning several hours. No matter what I try, it won't come back. And here's the kicker. I know I didn't pass out. There are texts on my phone sent from me proving I was still conscious. Digital proof that I was sentient. But I don't remember one bit of it, and before you say I just blacked out from alcohol, this was different. I rarely ever black out, but all the times he remembers fragments, not just drunk, but something deeper, something that defies coincidence. There's no ID, no phone, not even his own clothes. He is wearing someone else's. The world feels upside down. He doesn't know who he is or how he got there. The only thing left of himself are his shoes, soaked and stripped. His body remembers the water, but not why he's here. The pain is real, but memory remains a void. He's not just hungover, he's lost. His mind doesn't know how long it has been, or what happened in the last 10 hours. His mind races. What happened to him? Was he attacked? Drugged? Abducted? The world has no answers. There's nothing to anchor him, not time, place, or memory. He's drifting through an unknown nightmare. I was alone, scared, and couldn't reach my parents, so I called Ryan instead. Ryan didn't pick up, so I started wondering if he'd been through the same thing. I feared he'd been drugged too, robbed, dumped in bushes an hour away. When Ryan walked in, we instantly recognized each other. We shared the same story. His account matched mine perfectly. That sealed our fear. The crime wasn't just coincidence. We called the cops and thanked the store clerk for helping us confirm our story. The officers listened carefully at first, but their questions began to shift toward doubt. I argued they couldn't have walked so far drunk, and I think that made them nervous. One officer even said it was common, happens more than you think. They left us standing alone, with no answers, and told us to wait for more memories. After they left, I checked my phone for the first time. The messages were strange, sent from me to people I knew, Jimmy, parents, coworkers, even girls I'd been texting. Messages like, "We're safe," and "crashed at a buddy's place" contradicted each other. None made sense together. I had missed calls from Jimmy too. When I called Jimmy, he was frantic. Thought we'd died, told us to stay put. He'd come pick us up. Meanwhile, Ryan and I canceled our cards, none used despite being in those girls' possession. On the drive home, we argued about what happened. We were drugged. But why? No roofie caused this blackout. We were conscious. Texts confirmed it. And if they just wanted our credit cards, why steal them at all? We couldn't figure out how or why we were in a random town, an hour away wearing other people's clothes. We weren't targeted. We approached them ourselves. Ryan and I checked ourselves for incisions, thinking maybe some of our organs had been harvested. But there was nothing. Jimmy suggested they might have given us exotic drugs, which I guess makes sense. Someone drove us to that town, and someone else switched clothes with us. We never got an answer. Ryan and I ended up driving all the way back to shore just to go looking for that house. We tried our best to retrace our steps, and we did. An older man opened it, asked us what we wanted. I did the talking, not wanting to reveal too much. He gave me a hard. No, made up some BS story that there was a girl who lied about owning this house, which he actually found pretty funny. I'd be lying if I said I didn't walk away from that house with a sick, unsettling feeling in my stomach. Can't even describe it as fear. Just discomfort, like something truly awful had happened to me and Ryan, and we'd never get to the bottom of it. For a long time after, convinced those girls were involved in something much bigger than either us or Ryan could conceive. Maybe they planned to kidnap or kill us and decided not to go through with it at the last second for whatever reason. I know I'll never have an update, but if something else happens, I'll definitely